Every major tech company told you the exact same thing. Your job is gone. AI is here. Pack your desk. The future doesn't need you. That was 2 years ago. You still have a job. Why?
OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, they didn't just build the thing, they marketed the panic. Billboards, influencer deals, Senate hearings turned into product launches. And here's the tell. If your product actually works, you don't need that much noise to sell it.
To understand what's really happening, you need to look at what AI does when there's no demo, no spotlight, no one cleaning up after it.
This story gets darker, and most people won't see the next part coming. If you're not subscribed yet, do it now, because what we're about to cover changes how you read every single AI headline from this point forward. Researchers built a benchmark, not a demo, not a rehearsed showcase. They pulled real freelance jobs straight from Upwork. Design work, video editing, admin tasks, real deadlines, real client standards. Then they handed it all to the best AI agents available. The result? They failed more than 90% of the time. 90%.
AI writes a sentence beautifully, summarizes a document in seconds, generates an image on command. But ask it to deliver one complete project, every file correct, every requirement met from start to finish without supervision, it falls apart. Every single time. It's a brilliant intern who can't finish anything alone.
And then there are the places where failure costs more than a rejected invoice. Operating rooms, diagnostic systems. FDA reports show a spike in malfunction notifications after hospitals plugged AI into surgical devices. Real patients, real consequences. No tech demo covers that slide.
So here's the only rational move. Stop trying to race a machine that processes 1 billion tokens a second. You can't win that. But the machine still needs someone to tell it what to do, check what it built, and fix what it broke. That's the job now. That's the leverage. You're not the worker being replaced. You're the manager running the worker.
Every generation got its version of the same scare. The printing press, the assembly line, the spreadsheet. Your job is gone. And every time, the story was more complicated than the headline. But here's what's different this time. The people selling you the fear of replacement are the exact same people selling you the replacement. That's not disruption, that's a racket. And the mark is you.
Subscribe now, because this channel covers what comes before the headline, not after it. And if you want to see how one government already ran this exact playbook, not with AI, but with silver, the last video is right there. Watch it. The pattern is the same. The exits are narrowing. Now let's talk about the money. Not the venture capital hype numbers, the real money. The kind that shows up on earnings calls when the cameras are off. PwC surveyed CEOs worldwide. 56% said they saw zero revenue increase from AI. Zero cost cuts. Nothing. After billions spent. After every all-hands meeting promising transformation. Billions in, nothing out, and they kept going. They didn't pause, they didn't audit, they hired more evangelists, bought more ad space, and told their shareholders the returns are coming. You know what that sounds like? Every single bubble in history, right before it pops.
Here's where it gets ugly.
The companies spending the most on AI are also the companies spending the most on marketing AI. Think about that. Not on building, on telling you it's already built. OpenAI alone runs deals with hundreds of content creators. Google's AI push saturates every major platform. If the product worked the way they say, why spend that much money convincing you?
There's a name for this: the hype economy. You manufacture urgency. You sell the fear of being left behind. And then you sell the cure to the same fear you created. It's not a technology strategy. It's a protection racket with a better press release. And you bought it. Not because you're naive, because the story was built to be bought. Displacement anxiety is primal. Nobody wants to become irrelevant. So when someone hands you a way out, a tool, a course, a subscription, you take it. That's not weakness. That's just being human. They know exactly what they're selling.
So, what does it actually do well? Be honest with yourself. Writing a rough draft? Yes. Pulling data from a document fast? Yes. Spitting out 10 variations of a headline? Absolutely. It's fast at the parts that don't require judgment. At the parts that do, coherence, quality, professional standard, accountability, it needs you, every time, without exception.
The researchers called it modularity. AI thrives on isolated tasks with defined inputs and outputs. It breaks on anything that requires threading 5 things together across time with a real human on the other end who has real expectations. Real work isn't modular. It never was. That's the thing tech forgot when it built the pitch deck.
Here's the move nobody's talking about. The people who won't get replaced aren't the ones who avoided AI. They're the ones who learned to run it, check its work, set the brief, spot the error before the client does. The system still fails 90% of the time, but someone has to catch that failure. You just became irreplaceable, not despite AI, because of it.
Every 10 years, Silicon Valley discovers a new religion. And every time, the congregation grows before the cracks do. .com, mobile, crypto, now this. The pattern isn't the technology. The pattern is people need to believe something big is coming. Something that will fix the gap between where they are and where they want to be. AI didn't exploit your work ethic. It exploited your hope. And hope, historically, is the most expensive thing you can sell.
The job market doesn't care about your feelings about AI. Neither does the next bubble. Subscribe, because this channel doesn't sell hope. It maps the exits. And if you want to see how another country already weaponized this exact playbook, manufacturing scarcity, manufacturing fear, manufacturing need, watch why China is secretly hoarding all the silver. Same pattern, bigger stakes. The exits are already narrowing. Let's be precise about what's actually disappearing. Not jobs. Specific tasks inside jobs. Data entry, basic imagery sizing, templated customer replies, the repetitive bottom layer of white-collar work. That's real. That's gone. But here's what nobody puts on the slide. Those tasks were the entry point, the first rung, where junior workers learned by doing. AI didn't just cut costs. It sawed off the ladder.
Now here's the part big tech buries in the footnotes. Running one AI query uses roughly 10 times more electricity than a standard web search.
ChatGPT alone consumes as much power daily as 180,000 US homes. Not the servers, just the queries. The clean digital future has a coal plant behind it, sometimes literally. Strip everything back. Who actually wins here? Not the freelancer who bought the AI tool subscription. Not the mid-level manager who automated his own team. The winner is whoever owns the infrastructure, the compute, the data. 7 companies, that's the whole list. 7 companies now control the pipes that run your work, your healthcare, your media, your government contracts.
And here's the one that should keep you up at night. Every prompt you type, every document you upload, every voice note you transcribe, it goes somewhere. It trains something. You are not the customer. You never were. You're unpaid labor. You're annotating their next model. You're debugging their product for free. The most valuable data pipeline in history, and you're running it on your lunch break.
Washington noticed, eventually. The EU moved first. The AI Act signed into law. Requirements, audits, liability. But read the fine print. The largest exemptions in the bill? Research and development. The exact category every major AI company classifies its products under. Regulation with a hole cut to size. They helped draft it.
Think about what concentration at this scale actually means. When 7 companies own the infrastructure of thought, of writing, of analysis, of decision support, they don't need to control governments. Governments run on their tools. Courts use their search. Hospitals use their diagnostics. Armies use their satellites. Power doesn't need a crown anymore. It needs a server room.
History has a pattern here. Every major automation wave created more total jobs eventually, 100 years later, after a generation of workers had nowhere to go. The textile workers, the typesetters, the travel agents, they didn't get retrained and thrive. They got left. The economists who promised transition were tenured. The workers who lived the transition were not.
So what's the actual skill gap? Not learn prompt engineering, not get a certificate. The gap is judgment, context, knowing when the output is wrong before the damage is done, knowing what question to ask before you ask it, knowing that the confident-sounding answer the machine gave you is built on a training set with a cutoff date and a bias you haven't found yet. At some point, the market corrects. Always. The capital-chasing AI returns will hit the wall of actual AI results. Missed targets, abandoned enterprise deals, the lawsuits from hospitals that trusted the diagnostics, the quiet write-downs buried in Q3 reports. It won't be a crash with a date you remember. It'll be a slow bleed, valuations softening, headlines shifting, and the same voices who told you the future was here will tell you they always had reservations. Here's the truth they can't monetize. The most valuable thing you have isn't your skill set. It isn't your network. It's your ability to sit with uncertainty, make a call under pressure, and own what happens next. No model does that. No model can, because accountability requires a body, a consequence, a name on the door. AI will keep getting faster. It will keep getting cheaper, but it will never be the one who has to live with the answer. You will. That's not a weakness. That's the only thing left that isn't for sale.
Now look at what's happening in universities. The same institutions that charged you $40,000 a year to prepare you for the workforce are now charging extra, on top, for courses on how to survive the workforce they didn't prepare you for. AI literacy, prompt design for professionals. That's not education, that's a protection fee, paid to the same people who missed the shift. And here's the trap nobody drew on a whiteboard for you. Entry-level jobs? Gone, because AI handles the basics now. Senior roles? Still open, but every posting says 3 to 5 years experience required. Where do you get the experience? From the entry-level jobs that no longer exist. It's not a skills gap, it's a closed loop. A generation asked to skip a floor that was already demolished. Creative industries thought they were safe. They weren't the first target, they were just the second. Writers, illustrators, voice actors, composers. Within 18 months, entire stock libraries went to zero. Agencies cut junior creative teams. Brands ran AI-generated campaigns. The work still gets done, just not by people and not for people, for an algorithm that measures click-through rates and has never felt anything. Now here's the part that sounds like satire, but isn't. Companies are using AI to screen resumes for jobs that AI will eventually do. An algorithm selecting candidates to fill seats that another algorithm is being built to replace. The human in that loop is transitional, placeholder, a node in a supply chain already scheduled for removal. They just haven't told you which quarter yet. And it's not staying inside office buildings. AI agents are already making micro-decisions in financial markets, pricing your insurance, approving your loan, setting your credit limit. No human reviews your file. A model trained on aggregate behavior looks at your data points and assigns you a number. You're not a person in that system, you're a risk profile, and risk profiles don't get to appeal. There's a name for what happens when every decision in your workday is made or vetted by a machine. Algorithmic management. Amazon runs it in its warehouses. Delivery apps run it on their drivers. Soon, offices run it on knowledge workers. Productivity scores, response time logs, sentiment analysis on your emails. And the manager who fires you? Not a person, a threshold. You fell below 0.74. The system triggered. Nobody to argue with, nobody to look in the eye. Now pull back, way back, because this isn't just a corporate story, it's a state story. China has a national AI strategy, not a startup ecosystem, a directive, dates, targets, funding mandated at government level. While Silicon Valley argues about safety guidelines, Beijing is building the model that will run the factories, the ports, the military logistics of the next decade. Two systems, same technology, completely different intentions. And the country that builds the dominant model doesn't just win the economy, it sets the defaults, what the AI considers normal, what it flags as risk, what language it thinks in, what history it was trained on. A model built in Beijing doesn't have the same defaults as one built in San Francisco, and a world that runs on one or the other is a world shaped, quietly, invisibly, by whoever wrote the first line of training data. There's a moment in every dependency where you can't remember what you did before it. You used to do the math yourself, then you used a calculator, fine. You used to remember phone numbers, then you used a contact list, also fine. But now you're outsourcing judgment, strategy, diagnosis, the call on whether to trust the call. And once that muscle atrophies, once you've let the tool think for you long enough, you don't get it back by switching it off. The skill is gone, the habit is gone, and you're dependent on a system you don't own, can't audit, and can't turn off. So here's where we are. The tool works, partially. The hype was manufactured, deliberately. The jobs it took won't come back as promised. The ones it's coming for next are already marked. The companies that built it used your data to train it and your fear to sell it back. The governments that were supposed to stop it helped draft the loopholes. And the one thing they cannot replicate, cannot bottle, cannot automate,
cannot own is the human being sitting with the weight of a real decision in real time with real skin in the game. Keep that, guard it, because when the next wave comes, and it will, the only people left will be the ones who never let the machine do their thinking for themselves. The timeline just compressed. 3 months ago, this was a warning. Today, it's happening. By next quarter, it's policy. That's the speed this moves at. You're not paranoid. You're just paying attention while everyone else is asleep. Subscribe now. Add yourself to the people who see what's coming before it becomes what everyone's forced to react to. Then immediately, don't wait, watch why China is secretly hoarding all the silver. Because the same infrastructure being built for AI is being built for something else, something bigger, something that makes this whole conversation look like a prologue. You have the pattern now. Go see where else it's playing. Move fast.